All right, guys, so I'm walking in the pen here just below the camera. I've got a, I believe he's now a 7-year-old warmblood gelding that's been with us for a little while. And in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you guys my first step in bringing a horse back into work that's either had time off, or some of you guys will be watching this video and you'll know that it's part of it's the very first step in our foundational horsemanship series. And if you guys have watched any bit of videos, you'll see that this is very similar as far as what I do with horses, whether I first bring them back into work or when I'm starting a colt, or I'm doing problem horses, or I'm just doing a simple evaluation. This is the first step. So, this horse was at a show. We gave him some time off after the show because he did so super. It was a really long weekend for him. And so now he's had some time off. He's a little fresh. And I'm gonna walk over, I got a piece of feather I'm gonna pick up, and I'm gonna walk you guys through this real quickly. The reason I like this, the reason I do this is that it will fix 95% of the problems if you go through this and you get this really solid with your horses. Obviously, you guys can see he's a little fresh. It's in the teens here in Kentucky, and we got a nice wind blowing, so it's pretty brisk. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. And so you notice when I first came in, I just turned him loose, because since I've got this 50-foot round pin here, we'll focus on getting to his feet. So I'm not doing in-hand groundwork right now. We're just simply working on our round pin work. And so he knows, he's been through this. This horse already knows some of this stuff, but it's been, gosh, probably 6 to 8 months at least since we've done any round pin work with him, because we've been progressing him as a hunter horse. So I'll go ahead and do the simple stuff. I'll ask him to step off to the side. If he doesn't, because he's gazing off at his girlfriend that's there in the back paddock, then I ask him to move off. First step in this, I'm not so worried even so much about how I asked him to go off, because you might turn your horse in here for the foundation horsemanship stuff and your horse doesn't know any of this. So your horse might have just been smelling the grass or sniffing the dirt, taking a roll, whatever. And if you're bringing your horse back, they could be fresh like this guy. So the very first piece that I'm worried about, or not even worried about, but just gonna focus on, is the direction that he goes. First piece, the direction that he goes. So I asked him to go to the left. This is observation time, guys. So he went off, and he didn't walk off necessarily, he trotted off. It's not a fast trot, it's kind of a little medium trot. He's looking to the outside, and it's a good time to say, so he's had time off, make sure he's sound, make sure he's moving around nice. We can see where his focus is at. He looks towards the barn on that side. He's coming around through here. You can kind of take a little note. He started to stretch a little bit. I just use this time to say, hey, I'd really like for him to walk. Preferably, when you bring your horses into the round pen, ideally when you ask them to move off, they just walk around, because we want them to start relaxed. There he takes a nice little stretch, a little snort followed by it, so I'm not going to dictate too much other than his direction. If he was to look into the fence and turn back the other way, then I'd cut him off and send him back the same direction. And even if he tried to come towards me here at this moment and he tried to change directions towards the inside like that, I'd just say, hey, can you please go back out? And even that little bit of pressure to me right there, he kind of bowed up a little bit, and he's like, I'm gonna go. What happened? So if I just got straight on him this morning after having time off and it being nice and frisky, chances are if I did that with my leg, what would he do? He'd probably do the exact same thing. So I look at all of this very much in relation to how they're gonna react when we get under saddle. When I put pressure on him, I want him to respond, not react. That was more of a reaction. He certainly moved away from it, but I want him to do it nice and relaxed and calmly, move his shoulders away without actually getting faster. And so once we've kind of established the direction, the second piece that we're going to work on is the change of direction. So first is the direction, second is the change of direction. When you're starting a colt or working with some horses that might be a little disrespectful, they have a tendency to turn into their face into the fence and their butt comes towards you. So we want to kind of change that initially, and we want to get them to look at us. So I'll step out in front of his drive line, get his eye, and have him face up. this horse kind of understands some of this stuff, so I'm gonna reward the fact that he stays straight and he's paying attention, because what we're really ultimately after, now it's okay that he walks off. I was gonna go up and pet him, but he goes and moves around the side. So when he decides to leave, I might just let him get to the outside. I'm not gonna ask him to canter, but I'm just gonna add a little pressure saying, hey, you left. So I'm gonna kind of drive your feet. This whole principle of this several part exercise that we're walking through, guys, is to get your horse's focus, to help them find relaxation, to be able to control their feet, so be able to put pressure on them and their feet go where you ask them to go when you ask them to go that way. And so that's really important to me, because it's all very much connected to under saddle. If I step towards his ribs here, I'm not going to necessarily do it. If I did, I would like to see him move pretty well balanced, almost like a bit of a half pass out to the outside. We'll just do it just to show you guys. So I'll step towards his ribs here and ask him to go. See how he just gets faster? So if I was going to ask him for a lateral movement under saddle and I put my inside leg on, chances are he might just get quick. You know, he's feeling pretty spunky, so you guys are kind of seeing like this horse is coming off of some time off, and so I'll just kind of let him come back down. When horses are a little more energetic, a little more pizzazz to them, I'm not going to get after him a lot because he's already got the energy. I wanted to bring him back down. If you had a horse that was super lazy, you do the opposite. It's a counter move. If they're super lazy, then you drive them back forward. And so here I'm going to step and get his attention. Step out in front of him. Just keep stepping. There he comes. It's not necessarily perfect, and there he's going to draw towards me. So here I'm getting close to the fence, so I'm going to try to keep going the same direction that he was. I wouldn't have turned to the right because that would have changed his direction. So as he backed up and I was getting close to the fence, I started stepping to my left so that hopefully he could keep coming. Now I'm going to walk up here again to try to pet him. I don't sneak up to him. I'm just going to go ahead and rub him on the head, say, hey, good job, dude. And I'm going to send him that way. So that time it just took my hand, which is what I'd like him to do, because I think about the lead rope or the rein. I want them to be able to follow that feel around. And so, so now we're establishing direction. We're starting to get our changes of direction. We've established the direction that the horse travels, so he's not cutting back. He's not trying to come in and change directions towards me. He's going, when I say, hey, will you go to the left? Then he goes to the left. He's not turning back, cutting back, and doing all that silly stuff. So the second piece, like we said, is the change of direction. There we go. I'd like for him to have a little more draw, but it is what it is at this point. We'll work on it, right? And so from here, I'll point my hand to the right. There he goes. If he wouldn't have gone that direction, I would have started stepping towards his shoulder and then taken my flag and added a little energy towards that shoulder to push his shoulders back out on the rail. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but he's snorting like to beat the band. I got the microphone on me. We should have had one on him to see what he had to say. But so he's just kind of snorting and feeling his oats, and that's okay. So here I'll just ask him to canter. That was not so cute. And so, well, just let him kind of go around, because at this point, all we've said is, hey, will you go this way? He hasn't had any trouble with that. Your horse might, so then you'll have to step in, and if your horse turns into the fence, you turn them back into the fence. If your horse cuts across the middle, you try to cut them off since they're coming towards you. But it's all about, I look at it as counter moves. If they go one direction, they go back the same direction they came. So if he was here and he was to turn into the fence to the left, I drive him back into the fence, back to the right, and kind of, I had a friend explain it to me like unwind him almost. And so he wrapped himself that way, so he's got to unwrap himself the other way. And so since he hasn't had any trouble necessarily with cutting back, I want to step in and start saying, hey, I can move your feet a little bit. And so that's why I've come in and said, hey, I'm going to just ask you to canter. This is not about wearing your horse out. If you do it, you're missing the point. This is simply about asking him to move his feet in the direction that I'm asking him to go. So if he was walking around and being really, really quiet, then I would ask him to then just trot instead of walk. But his elected gait at this point is just to trot around. And so my goal essentially at the end of this session is simply for him to be more relaxed, more focused. And so then what you'll end up finding is the snorting should go away. The elongated gaits, the elaborate gaits will hopefully come back just to a nice relaxed walk. And when I ask him to trot, then it would be a nice soft trot. And then same with the canter. Everything's just he's not a bad mover, but he's a little choppy in terms of, and that's just the emotion side of it. So here, I'll just step back in, ask him to canter there. And I go through his sequence. My sequence is that I'm going to ask him to go this direction by pointing that way like I had a lead rope attached to him, saying, hey, can you follow this field? If he didn't, I have a cue from walk to trot. I usually kiss to him or cluck to him, and then if I want him to canter, then I kiss to him. And this horse knows this, so he might speed up a little bit. And then if he didn't, then I might come in with the flag. Some of you guys watching it will go hit the comment section and be like, hey, I didn't hear you cluck or kiss to him. You just went in with the flag. This horse knows to move off when I send my hand out to the side. So sometimes when he doesn't follow that initial cue, I expect a little more promptness from him. So I go from 1 to 3 versus 1, 2, 3. So here, now that he came back on his own, I'm going to draw on that inside eye. I feel like it's fishing. When I go to get that eye, it's like I'm attached to that inside eye, and then I just pull on it. And I'm saying, hey, come here. And so, hard to catch horses. If you're not handy roper, you can go through this same exercise and go through a drawing series. Because every time I want him to keep drawing to me to where he comes straight up to me when I've drawn on him. But this is not about wearing your horse down. This is, like I've said several times, and I'll keep repeating it because I don't think you guys can overhear it, is it's about him being relaxed. It's about him being focused. And you'll start to see that through physical things of better rhythm, better tempo, and he'll loosen up in the body. He'll start to stretch down. He'll start to be able to use his back. He's kind of going around just a little bit mechanically, just because he's tight. So he's not really using himself to the full range. And so I'll give him a second just to lick and chew and hang out here. That's just let him kind of settle down. And like I said before, this horse, like this particular horse you guys get to watch, he's got a little more go to him this morning. That's perfectly fine. So you notice that I've been pretty quiet with him, and you might have a horse that is just super, super lazy, or maybe they just don't believe you're going to be able to actually move their feet. So then you're going to have to be a little more active. But make sure your horse is doing more work. Don't overdo it. And so I'll go ahead and I'm going to, again, extend my hand to the left. Some horses might yield to this because it's pressure. They have to learn to follow that field. This horse has done a fair bit of groundwork, so I might go here. I'm not going to click or cluck to him because he's going to look where he's going, and he's looking the other direction. So here I'm using this flag right next to his shoulder. I might actually tap him in the shoulder saying, hey, you need to go. He's like, well, if I stay with you, I don't have to do anything. I'm like, you're dang right, that's true. So when you go out there, if you just actually stay relaxed, this will be a lot calmer. I don't want him to trot and canter around. I mean, I will ask him to, but this is what I'd ideally want him to do. I'd want him to come out here and be pretty relaxed. And so I like the fact that he's going to stretch down a little bit, that is, he's softer in his feet. You know, there he snorted a little bit, if you guys could hear that. That's fine. He's just kind of taking it all in. He hasn't been in this round pen maybe once or twice, but we haven't actually done this particular exercise with him. But again, it's a great first step for bringing a horse back into work after having some time off. If you think they're going to be a little extra in the tank, because I'm just really trying to prep his mind for a good ride. And so I just let him go around. I want your horses, sometimes they have to just kind of go until they get relaxed. So the fact that he went around and trotted and I asked him to canter a little bit both directions for a few minutes now, I don't know whether it's been 5 or 7 minutes or how long it's been, I'm going to let him spend time just walking. I don't want him to go, okay, we got the walk, now let's go trot, because then he's going to go, oh, okay, well, the first thing that I did yesterday when I came in the round pen was that I just ran around, you know, with my tail half flagged and I snorted at everything, I finally relaxed and he let me walk about 40 feet and then he asked me to trot. So I'll just skip the walking part and I'll just go back to the trotting part. Your horses are smart. So it's the same principle when you go to get on your horse. I like to spend 2 or 3 minutes just sitting on them when I first get on them. It keeps them from getting in the habit of walking off. So same thing with this. I want him to spend time doing the things that I want him to do when he's doing it the way I want him to do it. And so I want him to spend time walking nice and relaxed, because now there he goes. I'm saying, hey, you want to move your feet because there's a little horse that just came up to the gate over here and he's like, I might want to go visit. I'm like, well, if you need to go, that's okay, but we'll have to do a little more work than what you wanted to. And he's like, because he goes, this horse is naturally lazy, guys. Like, he's a pusher when I ride him. So him having a little extra energy is not uncommon because he's got a high play drive. Nope. He's like, well, can I trot? I'm like, no, you wanted to go forward. We were just walking. And so I'm saying, I'm not going to stop him from trotting. I'm just going to say, hey, we have to do a little bit more. And he's going to go, I didn't want to do that much. And I'm going to say, that's okay. And so there he crossfired in behind. So I just kind of take the pressure off, let him come back, and then ask him to go again. And so I'm just going to kind of keep the gas on him. Just, you can see I'm not doing too much. And so, but I'm wanting him just to keep going. And then I'll lower my energy now. I'm not necessarily, if I have to step out in front of him, I might. But I'll try to get him to come back to a walk. If he elects, I'm not going to beg him though. I'm going to try to help him. So there he left, and you saw I put the flag completely down, because this is like this flag to me is my gas pedal. If I raise it up here, see how I don't know if you guys can see that, but when I raise it up there, he's half, like the horse has to separate. So if I go like, hey, move, and then I get busy with it, he better go. And so when I initially did that, it half caught him off guard, but I've been using this to push him just like my leg, like, hey, go, 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 go. So if I pick this up and say go, he really kind of gets after it. So when he went to leave, you might have to rewind just a minute. When he went to leave, he was leaving with a little more energy than I wanted him to, so I dropped the flag completely to the ground, because that's like me taking my foot completely off the gas. And so the way here, and some of you guys are going to be saying, how do you separate them being just standing with the flag and being able to be rubbed with the flag versus them having to move away from the flag? Well, like I said before, I extend my hand in a direction and say, hey, please go that way. And then I push them that way. So this is the first cue. They have to start picking up on the extension of that hand, because I look at it like the lead rope, or if I'm riding them for the first time, they know how to follow the lead rope, so I take my hands wide and they know how to follow my hand. So this is all very much related. The reason we do this stuff is so that we can ride our horses. This is not like a Liberty deal where we're trying to do refined groundwork with certain exercises to develop Liberty horses. This is all in the name of getting under saddle and having a safe, quiet, relaxed, focused horse that you can enjoy under saddle. So like here, we'll see what he does. I'm not asking him to go anywhere. I've used this flag to drive him around though. And so if my horse was terrified of the flag, I probably wouldn't necessarily use it like I have been. I'd get him used to it first. But in this moment, I haven't asked him to go anywhere. So I should be able to rub him with it. And so this is obviously not right in line with the topic, but this is really important because I know some of you guys are going to ask this question, and we'll go into like how to get your horse used to a flag with one that actually is scared of it or worried or hasn't seen one before. But you can see this horse should be able to tell the difference, so that now when I say, hey, will you go that way, and I raise this flag up, see, he looked at me, he's like, I know you want me to go. And so I'm happy with how he moved off. You know, I was standing right next to him. He could have just trotted off, but he moved off nice and slow and relaxed, and he's just walking around. And so I'm really happy with how that transitioned, because he went from a very high emotional state to, okay, now we're back down. And it's really important we do that with our horses on the ground, that we actually do walk, trot, canter them on the ground, and maybe even if you have a big enough space, maybe an arena, you kind of really get them moving and raise that energy, raise that emotion up. And so someone just started the tractor, so he kind of just trotted off there. So since it was more out of, to me it was like a little more out of worry than it was like him being driven, then I just kind of say, hey, you're okay, you can come back down. So I'm not gonna stop him. It'd be just like I was riding him and that happened and he's like, oh gosh, I kind of feel like I have to go. I could use that inside rein to kind of say, hey, you're okay, like you don't have to go anywhere. And so now he's walking around nice. I might lead him out to the inside. There, then so there you saw the first and the second cue, but I did not use the flag because I didn't have to that time. And so we'll just let him kind of go around. I'm not going to beg him, so you notice I'm kind of hanging out here in the middle. I want him just to keep cruising because I asked him to. So if he does come back for this particular horse, I might give him the benefit of the doubt one time and just clock two and see if he'll pick it back up. But if not, then I'm going to come in with the flag. For a horse that doesn't know this, you're going to go through the exact same series of events. They're going to come back to the walk, you're going to extend your hand, you're going to clock to them, and then you're going to come in with the flag if necessary. You guys will notice that I'm kind of trying not to step on it, but there's a lunge whip here at my feet. Why do I have that? Because if I had one that was super lazy, so here he's kind of teetering, he's like barely going anywhere. But if I had one that was super lazy and the flag wasn't getting it done, you might use a lunge whip to actually reach out. And if you got close enough, you're not going to chase your horse down. You notice that I'm trying to get as much done from as far away as possible. But if you did get close enough to make contact with their rump and say, hey, you need to move your feet, and you've gone through with the signal of the hand, you've clocked to them, you might use that whip, the lunge whip there, to kind of drive them forward, because some horses, they'll just make you work to death. And so the idea is that the horses do the majority of the work. So now he's trotted around pretty good there, so I'm gonna take the gas off here. I'm gonna step out in front, I'm gonna draw that eye. Now my steps are gonna get smaller. I'm gonna step smaller and smaller. I'm still releasing, trying to get that draw, but I'm stepping smaller because I want him to catch up to me. And so there he gets a nice little mini shake. He's licking and chewing. And so early on, you'll really step back and draw on him. But then, you notice there, I took like little half steps because I still wanted to release and saying, hey, good job, you're coming to me. But I want him to catch up so that he eventually figures out that he has to get all the way here to get that release. So I'm just going to step to his left here. There he goes. And now we're going to send him the other way. So I'm going to point that direction, raise the flag, so that he's starting to look the other way. I just raise that flag and say, hey, can you go that way? And just let him cruise. You know, if he stops to smell anything and he completely stops his feet, then I'll drive him forward. Not so much